Hi there, I'm Ros Atkins. Welcome back to Global. Now, how would you define your personal space? Just how close does someone have to get before you start thinking, hold on, I'm feeling a little bit uncomfortable? I wonder if it's this much, maybe you think a lot more. Researchers at a London university have actually measured how close is too close, and they say our personal boundaries in the UK are in the region of 20 to 40 centimetres from our face. Go beyond it and we'll all start to feel a little bit threatened. Well, my guess is those notions of personal space vary very much from country to country. Let's put that to test with the guests who are with me. Dr. Giandomenico Iannetti carried out the research. Thanks for coming in, Giandomenico. Also, Farhanak Amidi from BBC Persian and Neha Bhatnagar from BBC Hindi are here. Hi, good to see you both. Well, let's start off with what you found, and we must emphasise that you distinguish between peripersonal space and social personal space. So explain that to us.
Well, we looked at the defensive peripersonal space, which is a safety margin surrounding the body, which is important for defense. And we were able to characterize that by doing a very simple experiment. We were recording an automatic defensive response, which is the eye closure in response to a strong shock, electric shock of the hand. And we looked at how this response changes depending on the position of the hand compared to the body. And basically we found three important things. One is that this supposedly automatic and stable response is actually very much increased when the stimulated hand is close to the face. And then by looking at how this happens, we were able to see that there is a precise point in space where this increase happens. And the third important thing is that, and in such, this way we were able to measure the boundary of this cloud surrounding the face, defensive cloud. And this boundary is the position of this boundary varies a lot across individuals in our population, as you said, of white European.
Well, I tweeted that I was going to be speaking to you and all of you, and one of our viewers came straight back and said if you did this in Mumbai, people would be saying 5 centimetres because people are used to being much closer all the time.
Absolutely. I mean, India is a very crowded country. Our population density is very high. It's close to 400 per square kilometre, which makes it quite hard. I mean, my husband was telling me of this incident. Once he was travelling on a public bus and a lady came in, almost sat on his lap. And I found it funny and I found it a bit odd, but I would not classify it as much as this is my personal space as I think.
I'd like to see them trying that on the London Underground.
Yes, so I think, yeah, it is a bit different. It's actually quite different, to be honest.
I mean, lots of you have been tweeting me about this. Thank you very much. Jesus in Mexico City says it depends on culture, but also where you live in a country. Cities are more crowded, and so people are used to people being much closer. Do you think that's true in Iran, that someone in rural Iran would want a bit more space?
I don't really think so. I think it's more kind of a way of living. In many parts of Iran, different generations of one family live in the same house. So you don't have that definition of privacy and personal space the way you have it here as, okay, now I'm a grown-up, I want to leave the house and I don't want you to interfere in my business. You don't have that. And that reflects in many ways in how people look at each other, how close they get when they talk to each other, and also some of them, have body contact with you, even if they don't know you that well. So, and I don't think I think probably in rural areas, even the private space is smaller.
And I'm interested here in London, where there's obviously lots of people. You can walk down some very busy streets and everyone is making sure they're not touching and they're moving around each other. We're very respectful here, I think, of people's personal space.
Yeah, well, that goes back to what you said, that it's important not to confound this social space with something, what we described, which is very much related to defense. So it's a vital safety margin, and when like a threat approaches or enters this cloud, the individual engages in more effective defensive response aimed at self-protection. Totally agree that it is very much dependent on the context. One important thing to say is that what we measured is in the relatively friendly environment of a laboratory, but we believe that this space is something that we constantly update depending on the context. Obviously, if you walk at night, late, in a dodgy part of town, you want to put this boundary of detection farther away in order to be safer. In the tube, as you said, there are people close to you, but they should not be harmful. So maybe it bothers you, but it's not really a threat in a physical sense.
Exactly. I think that is completely true, because personally, when I'm on a tube on rush hour, it's people are way too close. You would never want people you don't know to be that close to you, but you're fine with it, I guess.
Yeah, and I also think, you know, in different contexts, it's entirely different. For instance, here, I feel in London, people are, you know, something like your bedroom is considered to be a very private space. Whereas in India, it's not uncommon for people to sit together in a bedroom and watch telly together, watch TV together, or, you know, if you've just got one air condition and it's in your bedroom, people will come there and eat food together. So that context of private space does change quite rapidly when I move.
Yeah, exactly, because it's completely the same in Iran. I think in countries in that part of the world, you see that your room is not necessarily the most private place that it is here. You know, people will walk in, maybe not even knock. You know, it's just, hey, I'm here, you know, let's have tea.
I have to tell you, when I was tweeting about this, so many of you in America have come back and said 40 centimetres, that is just way, way too close. Fiona says, if I can feel someone breathing, that's definitely out. Jill in the US says, I've just measured out exactly what you're saying. That is double. We need to double it for the States, that if you get within a metre, it's way too close. What about in Italy?
Well, I don't know. I'm from Italy. We tested European-wide. I've no idea if there are differences between cultures. My prediction would be yes, probably, but it's something that we want to test. The important thing is that there are very significant inter-individual differences. And something that relates very much to the size of this defensive space is what we call the anxiety trait.
And just quickly, I wonder also if this is about tactility. It's not just about proximity, it's about how much someone touches you. And the moment there's any physical contact, people start feeling a lot more threatened than if you were close but not touching.
Absolutely. I mean, especially in India, you know, usually there are in public transport separate compartments for women as well. So as such, between genders, you know, if there is physical contact, people can get offended with that. But it has to do with the context that you're in and what is the purpose behind it. Yeah. So
how are we doing here, by the way? Is this all okay for all of you? I should just check. Fine. Everyone's okay? Great. Okay. Jean Domenico, thank you very much for coming in. Neha Faranak, thank you very much indeed. By the way, if you want to get news made by my colleagues at BBC Hindi and BBC Persian, go to bbchindi.com and bbcpersian.com. And if you'd like to tweet me your thoughts on the matter, hundreds of you have been doing so in the last hour or so. At BBC Atkins is where you can find me. Lots of you have actually been saying 20 centimetres is okay, 50 centimetres. If you want to send me a distance, that's fine, or maybe you've got a general comment. Also, in a few minutes' time here on Global, we'll of course